I'm Andrea Johnson. I'm the Grant and Financial Education Coordinator for the Office of Consumer Credit Commissioner. Today, we're going to be talking about building a better budget. And I want to point out that this webinar is for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. Now, the Texas Office of Consumer Credit Commissioner licenses and regulates certain non-depository institutions like pawn shops, payday loan lenders, and registered creditors. We protect and safeguard consumers like yourself against abusive and deceptive lending practices, and we educate consumers like you and creditors about your rights and responsibilities. If you feel that any of the industries that we license or regulate if you have a complaint or a concern or a question about them, you can call our consumer assistance hotline, helpline, and their number is right there on the screen. We provide financial education through me, the financial education coordinator, informational seminars and webinars like this one, and hopefully we'll be doing these in person. So keep me somewhere in your in the back of your mind for in-person presentations for any organization or business that you work for or belong to. We provide financial education materials like the handouts I have today, and those can also be found on occc.texas.gov. And we partner with education-oriented organizations. And real quickly, this has to do a lot with our Texas Financial Education Endowment, which I'm the grant coordinator. This new cycle starts this summer. So if you are part of any organizations, maybe your children are a part of organizations that are talking about doing financial programs at low to no cost for K through 12, adults, or financial coaching, keep us in mind. We provide grants every 2 years for those organizations. And I mentioned, organizations your kids might be involved in because one of our recipients right now is Girl Scouts in North Texas. So that's just an example of what I'm talking about when it comes to the Texas Financial Education Endowment. Building a better budget. There are several benefits to budgeting. You can get better control of your finances, set financial goals, organize your spending, and plan ahead for what you want. So on this list, yes, controlling your finances is on there, but it's also talking about your needs, your wants, the things you value, and helping you set financial goals. This is what the Budgeting Basics worksheet is that I have as an attachment today, and this is all fillable. It's a fillable PDF, and you'll notice the first thing it talks about are the goals. Because yes, you want to set a budget. It's going to help you keep your finances on track throughout the month. But what are you also planning ahead for? It also goes in and it breaks down everything in the different categories you'll need. Your housing, your utilities, transportation, food, medical expenses, childcare, donations, personal spending, miscellaneous spending, entertainment, debts, and it all comes out in the wash and how that's all going to play out. And so it's important to start tracking these things to help you get control of your finances. So there are different budget categories. Let's break them down. Housing. This is going to be your rent or your mortgage, and it's going to include things like your property taxes and your homeowners or renters insurance. With the big ice storm we had this first week of February, a lot of people were looking into their homeowners and renters insurance policies, and some renters were finding out that they didn't have renters insurance. Transportation, your car maintenance, gasoline, public transportation expenses, and parking. Utilities, this is going to include electricity, water, gas, trash service, and cell phone service. Insurance is going to also cover health insurance, life insurance, and car insurance. Food. Now, when we talk about food, we're not just talking about groceries. We're also talking about the money we spend on eating out. So you might have to really gather a lot of receipts for this one. I know that getting takeaways at our house is pretty common because we're just tired. I haven't made it to the grocery store or, whatever is coming up. And so this is something that is really in my budget that I need to keep a better track on and keep a better eye on. When it comes to entertainment, you think about fun things like to include Netflix movies, maybe bowling. Netflix also to include, Disney Plus, your Prime account, the Peacock, the Hulu, it's just an ending plethora of streaming services today. So also remember that in your entertainment. Miscellaneous spending. So extra things are going to come up during the month, and you're going to need money to set aside for that, correct? Your personal spending, like haircuts, clothing, and shoes. I had 2 little ones with birthdays this week, and everybody got a haircut. Savings, pay yourself first. And one of the budgeting techniques today that we're going to talk about specifically focuses on paying yourself first, your savings. And then giving, which is your charitable causes that you care about. Maybe you like to donate to breast cancer awareness, or maybe autism, or there's some other research that you like to contribute to on a regular basis, or maybe it's every couple months. You want to put that in your budget so you can track it and know that that's an expense that you're going to be taking care of every so often or every month. So my first polling question today, as you can see, is which monthly expenses do you already budget? Your mortgage, your insurance, your childcare, or your car payment? I should have a choice for all of the above on here, right? I know at my house, since I lean more towards zero-based budgeting, I really focus on all of these. Maybe not so much insurance. I do seem to notice that when I have, someone said yes, all of these except childcare. I do notice that I don't really, I remember to budget my insurance, but it's an automatic payment. And I've noticed when I have automatic payments, I don't put as much thought into if and when they're going to happen, because I know that automatically it's going to happen and the money better be there, correct? And let's see, 75% say mortgage. No one had insurance or childcare today. I have to do childcare myself. Like I said, I've got 2 little ones. And then car payment. Yep, that's another one. That's definitely on the list, correct? And so someone said that they budget all of those as well, and they're automatic payments as well. And that's really great for your budget and your credit. It's really good to have things when it comes to building your credit. It's really good to kind of have things on automatic payments because it's just naturally going to happen. So how do you know how much to put in each category? You're going to review your receipts, your credit card, or your bank statements to see what you're spending in these categories on a regular basis. A regular basis. So go back and look at January and February and kind of see where you were standing and see if there's any differences in these different things. And so that way you have a better idea of what to put in your budget for those categories. You want to gather all your fixed monthly bills and calculate the total. And of course, fixed monthly bills are the ones that don't change. Your rent, your mortgage, your car payment, your car insurance, your student loans. If you have a student loan, you've got to get that into your budget. You want to estimate your variable monthly bills and personal spending, like personal spending, entertainment, miscellaneous, and food. And you want to track those first, and then budgeting will be easier. So that's why I mentioned like going back and looking at January and February, or since this is the first week of March, what you do is make sure this month every single payment that you make, you are writing it down. Every receipt, you're writing it down. And I understand, yes, you can look at this through your bank statement. But if you're like me, sometimes, there's little gas stations near me that just pop up as like corner store mart. Okay, well, was that gas? Did I just stop real quickly and spend $10 on gas because I'm in a hurry, ready to go somewhere else? or was that soda and chips and coffee and whatever? So that way you know what those receipts are, because when you're swiping your debit card, it's not necessarily telling you, yes, you purchased gasoline during this run to the gas station. So see, that's another thing you need to keep track of, because that goes into a different category. How much do you think you spend on extras? 80%, 60%, 40%? I probably, where do I fall? I might fall 40 to 60%. Some people might say 80%. You know, maybe you're fortunate enough that you don't have a lot of overhead when it comes to your rent or mortgage, but you know, so you can spend a little bit more on extras. I, for one, probably in the 40%. If you're in that 10% range, you are great. You're doing great when it comes to budgeting and probably your credit as well. So let's look where everyone stands. So 40%, 75% of you say 40%, and 25% of you say 10%. I would say to those 25% of you that were able to answer 10%, you are doing great. And that is what we should all be striving for when it comes to how much we're spending on extras. Because you're going to have more money to spend, to put towards savings. That includes retirement, you know, paying off any debt that you have. So that's really a good goal to set for yourself financially. So what are different budgeting strategies? There is budgeting percentages, the 50-20-30, the 80-20, and the zero-based budgeting. I tend to fall between zero-based budgeting and maybe the 80-20, but definitely the zero-based budgeting. So when it comes to budgeting percentages, everyone is different, but these are some guidelines. So housing is going to be 25 to 30%. It's always going to be the most. Transportation, 10 to 15%. Utilities, 5 to 10%. Insurance, 10 to 15%. Food, 10 to 15%. And then on the right side of the screen, entertainment, miscellaneous, personal, savings, givings, all of these are going to be 10% or less. Because these are things that if you find yourself struggling on the left side of the screen, you're going to be cutting back on the right side. And these totals are based on your after-tax income, but before 401k, medical insurance, or any other contributions you might be making. So budget ratio techniques. The 50-30-20 technique splits take-home pay into 3 categories: 50% for needs, 30% for wants, and 20% for savings and debt. Needs covers your mortgage, your rent, your car payment, groceries, insurance, healthcare, minimum debt payment, and utilities. Wants covers dinner, movies, maybe a new purse, tickets to go to a baseball game. You know, they're allowing people in the stands now, vacations, gadgets, things of that nature. Savings is going to include an emergency savings account for when things come up, like you needed new tires last week. IRA contributions, investing in the stock market, and debt repayment. Now, it's said that when it comes to savings, you should have at least 3 months of emergency savings on hand in case you lose your job or any unforeseen events happen. So it's really important to try to save up as much as possible just to have a little nest egg, a little cushion for when things come up. You know, very near in our future, I'm probably going to be also spending money on glasses for my son. And so that's an expense that I need to be looking ahead to. And then there's the 80-20. Now this is going to take 20% of savings and debt and 80% to everything else. Now this is the one where you're going to pay yourself first. You should always pay yourself first, but this one really focuses on it. And what that means is you're going to take your take-home pay, multiply that 0.2, and that money goes into savings. And so you're going to put money into savings as soon as you get paid, and everything else goes towards your expenses, including your needs and wants. Now, I would point out, it would definitely be good to, see your receipts and your budget and kind of get an idea before you just dive right into this one. Because if you are cutting too much out to go into savings, then are you going to be depending on credit cards or other types of loans to finance your monthly expenses? And so that would definitely, not be the best idea. This, however, this plan of 80-20 might work best for those of you who want to budget, but you don't want to track every little penny. I'm a zero-based budget person. I want to see where every penny is going. But this would definitely work for you if you're new to budgeting as well. Then there's the zero-based budgeting. This is when you're going to balance your income and your expenses down to zero. Every dollar has a purpose, and it's the same as the envelope method, which literally is taking envelopes and putting money in each one and writing down where that money is going. And that's what you have for those areas to spend. That's what you have for those areas to spend. This is an example of zero-based budgeting. It's kind of what a budget would look like for you, but you'll notice that, we talked about those percentages, and 25 to 30% for mortgage, you got 8% for your car, utilities, and you'll notice that in personal spending and miscellaneous, they went down a little bit because there's a student loan on this budget. So it's always important to remember things like student loans. That takes on a whole, that's definitely a need. That is definitely something you need to take care of. So you're going to have to cut back in other categories in order to make that happen. And this is it's the same budget, but using the 50-30-20 and the 80-20. So, but you'll notice in needs, it's not just 50%, it's 52%, because that's student loans in there. Wants, it's not 30%, it's not 30%, it's 25%. And savings and debt repayment, it's not 20%, it's 23%. And the same thing goes for the 80-20. It's not perfect. You're not going to get those numbers exactly down to the number, 80% and 20%, and that's okay. Everyone's going to work this out differently for themselves. So what about debt repayment? There is the debt snowball, and what this means is you're going to pay the minimum on everything, and the extra goes to the smallest balance. So regardless of the interest rate on what you have on credit cards, loans, any kind of debt repayment you have, you're going to pay down the lowest balance. And what I like about this one is, probably for a lot of people, it's almost, it goes into that instant gratification thing. It is like streaming services nowadays. If you want to sit and binge watch an entire show, you can do that. That's instant gratification. If you want, it's just, to me, it's just a quick way of seeing something done. Okay. But then you're going to turn around and focus on the next item that has the lowest balance and pay that off. And you're still going to make minimum payments on everything else. Then we have the debt avalanche. So what you're going to do here is you're going to pay the minimum payment on everything, and anything extra goes to the highest interest rate. Now this is going to take it off a little bit slower, but by tackling whatever you have with the highest interest rate, you're also tackling that higher interest rate charge. Because if you are close to maxing out a credit card and it has a really high interest rate, chances are it's going to get maxed out sooner rather than later, especially if you're still using the card and if you've got the high interest rate charges every month. So by focusing on that, you're just going to keep plugging away and keeping those charges down, which is going to help your balance come down. Consolidating credit cards and balance transfers, but watch out for fees. So what I mentioned is you see those offers where they say transfer your credit cards here, consolidate here, do this, do this, do this. And typically the incentive is a lower interest rate for a period of time, correct? The incentive they sell a lot is transfer, consolidate, 0% interest for 12 months. If at the end of those 12 months, you are not going to have that card paid off, then you will find yourself in the same situation that you were in before you consolidated. You also want to look into fees. If you have a credit card that maybe has a higher interest rate or whatever, but it doesn't have any annual fees, that's going to be possibly better than consolidating to something else if they do have fees. And if you haven't already, one thing when it comes to debt repayment is stop using credit cards or other debt to finance your living expenses. This is where your budget is also going to come in and show you where you are falling short every month financially. You can look and see where you're whipping that credit card out at the end of the month or right before your paycheck and what you're spending it on, okay? And you've got to stop doing that if you are, because that's just a cyclical thing and it's not going to end until you say you just cut up the card or put it away. Sorry about that. I think a little message just popped up on the screen. Another thing you can do is allocate extra money to pay for debt or for debt repayment, for debt repayment. And if you have any advice on what people can do to, bring in extra money, just let me know. Maybe you're crafty, and we're going to talk about that next. Ask for lower interest rates. I will say that when I say this out loud, if we were in person, I feel like I would hear a chuckle. And I will tell you that during a presentation, probably in January, someone chimed in and said they actually got lower interest rates on I think it was their cell phone, their car insurance. What was it? And there was a third one, and all I did was call and ask. Same companies. They didn't switch companies. They didn't threaten to leave the company. They really just called and asked the companies that they were already using to lower their interest rate, and they were able to make that happen and save money. So that's something to look into. Also, a lot of times people right now are talking about refinancing. The refinance rates have gotten really low and they're ticking up again. So, if one of the things you can do is refinance if you have a mortgage, and hopefully that could bring down your monthly mortgage payment. And, if you can get 1 to 2%, better interest than you have now, then that's definitely worth looking into. Any suggestions for increasing income you might have, just let me know and I will share them with everyone. Check your paycheck for deductions. Do you have options and any optional deductions that you can eliminate? Are your tax withholdings appropriate? So are you having too much taken out for taxes? Are you having too little taken out for taxes? So, are you running into a tax bill in, the coming year because you don't have enough taken out? Or are you having way too much taken out and that's why you can't make ends meet every month? Are all members of your household chipping in? And so this means, if anyone of age is working and can work, are they contributing to the household cost? Are they buying groceries? Are they helping to pay the electric bill, the gas bill, any utilities that are coming up? Because everyone living in the home is using the utilities. Do you have a talent to increase income, such as sewing, crafting, maybe bookkeeping, something you could do on the side besides an actual, going out of the house every day and having a part-time job that takes you away from the home? I've been making masks during the pandemic, and so that was something I've kind of done on the side. I do some alterations occasionally on the side, but nothing too dramatic, right? Just a little something. And so I put that in the savings account. Do you qualify for any government benefits? That's something you should be looking into. Maybe someone in your family qualifies. If you're living in a multi-generational home, is everyone, does anyone in the home qualify for government benefits? Can you get a part-time job? There's tons of companies right now still, that deliver meals, deliver groceries, all those different companies that you could maybe drive for. That's another way to get some money going part-time. And consider selling what you don't need. For instance, being home all the time, I look around and I know that as my children are growing up and they don't need their little baby toys anymore. I've sold the high chair, I've sold car seats as we got a new car seat. One time, I think the first thing I sold when all this started, when we were working from home, was an extra large dog kennel. And it was just sitting there collecting dust. And I said, well, we don't need that. And I just sold it and stuck the money in the savings account. And that's really what I suggest, is that if you do have these side jobs that you could do, if it's not to really help make ends meet, put that money in a savings account so you're building that savings account, because that's part of budgeting, building a budget, building better credit, is having money set aside for when it rains, because it will. Suggestions for decreasing expenses: grocery shop alone, curbside, or delivery. A lot of places offer free pickup. A lot of grocery stores, you can do the free pickup. For instance, I placed an HEB order. I think if you do it 2 days ahead of schedule, you don't have to pay a shopper fee. Okay. And so, yes, it's got I think there's still like a slight percentage. I think it's like 0.2% of the cost, goes up because you're ordering online. But maybe you could do delivery, or you shop alone. And if you're actually physically going into the store, make a list and stick to it. Someone today says, eat before you go shopping. Yes, if you are physically going to go into the grocery store, do not go hungry. You will come home, you will look at the things that you just took out of all those bags, and you will wonder what happened. All us Texans on here, someone says, get HEB's app, sometimes get coupons for only their app users. This is true. The app does have lots of coupons, and a lot of places do that. I want to say, I have the Target app, and when you use the Target app, even if you're just using the app, things will pop up and have discounts and savings that they don't have marked in the store. And so that's another thing, is to make sure you're checking those apps when you're going grocery shopping, when you're picking up groceries, that you make sure you are getting as much discount as you can, correct? Someone says, I chew gum while I grocery shop so I don't get tempted to buy sweets. I need to do that, because one of my New Year's resolutions is to get healthier. So that is probably something I should be doing as well. Another way to decrease expenses is to carry a lunch to work so you're not eating out. Right now, I'm working from home, so it's great. This afternoon, I'll go into the kitchen, make a sandwich, and call it a day. But I will tell you, especially now that I haven't been going to the office every day, when I do go to the office, I don't remember my lunch. And I'm very tempted, or I have to go get something to eat, at some point. But, that's one of those things that with all of the things that have changed working from home, is that when I am out around lunchtime and I'm getting hungry, I automatically will pick something up. Someone says, when it comes to shopping, the check sales papers, some have actual coupons, and you can use those if you eat out sometimes, and they have some grocery deals as well. This is true. I have seen those. They still have paper coupons. And another thing about that is if you are receiving those, what is it? I can't remember what they're called, like the monthly thing that comes and it has the old school paper coupons that you can cut out. A lot of stores will take your paper coupons, they will take their app coupons, and they will take in-store coupons. You know, I used to really get sucked into, what was that show? Extreme Couponing. They know what they're doing when it comes to couponing. And I used to try really hard. I remember one time when I was grocery shopping, I think I saved like $20 because of coupons. I need to get back to those days. Another way to decrease expenses is to entertain at home, which we're all doing a lot more lately. Shop at the end of the season. I will let you know, I was not aware that in July, it's like Black Friday in July for big retailers. A friend of mine who has a really big extended family, she always shops in the summer, and she was telling me about deals at Walmart. It was like a black hole on the internet in order to find exactly what I was looking for. It's kind of like she belonged to a special group of people that knew about all this information, but it's there, and they do it every summer. I want to say, you know, big retailers like Target and Walmart, and then of course Amazon. You see stuff throughout the year. They always have deals going on. But what she does specifically is, at this time of year, since she has such a large extended family, she will buy gifts and just put them in a closet, and you know, different ages and things like that. And when she has a birthday or some kind of holiday coming up, she just takes a gift out of the closet, wraps it up, and she's ready to go. She's not running around at the last minute looking for a gift, possibly spending more money and more time and more energy, and she just has it ready to go. Now, as we're all heading back to the office, little by little, think about carpooling. This could even be, you know, maybe grocery shopping. You know, a lot of people nowadays, you know, with their older population, they've been told to quarantine and stay home, but there's special shopping periods, you know, throughout the day, or maybe you have a neighbor that can't get around. You could even take someone shopping when you go grocery shopping if you have someone who needs to go with you. That would be a form of carpooling. You're not just one person in a car, you're taking someone else with you who needs the assistance. Reduce spending in categories that are not necessities, such as housekeeping, club memberships, and consider donating your time instead of money. Like I just said, that kind of goes back to the carpooling. You know, if you have a neighbor nearby you that's a little hard for them to get out, and they do need to go to the grocery store, and they don't have a service that comes and picks them up, you could take them to the store, you know, and that's your time. That's not your money. Cut extra cable channels. For instance, we don't even do cable at my house. We have an antenna. And I think sometimes when you do the digital scan, it's like over 60 channels. So, and a lot of these things in this last category, you can get back later. They're not gone forever. So, you know, it's not so long forever. It's just so long until I get my budget in order. If your after-tax pay isn't enough to cover all of your expenses, remember to adjust the categories. Remember the categories on the right side of the screen. Your miscellaneous, your entertainment, your personal spending. Decrease if you can. Also, you know, we talk about mortgage, we talk about refinancing. You can decrease, you know, your what your housing costs are, correct? Maybe your rent at your apartment. You really like your location, but rent is going up. Look around, you know, shop around for when your lease comes up and you want to move. When your income increases, don't increase your spending, stick to the same budget. I always like to think of this in when you get like a pay raise or something like that, take that extra money and just put it to a direct deposit into a savings account that you don't ever see. I, for one, have a working account and I have a savings account, and they are not at the same place. So the working account is just what it sounds like. It's the account that the paychecks go into and the bills get paid out of. That's the working account. And the savings account is exactly that. It's a savings account. Try to pay off debt and save extra money when you can. Prevent late payments, because one late payment one month becomes a late payment the next month. And that's a lot of money at the end of the year. You know, even if your late payment is what, $10 at the end of the year, it's $120 that you just paid in late payments. If you're paying it every single month late, that could go in your savings account. That could go in your emergency savings account and help you pay the minimum on credit cards and loans. Pay more than the minimum on credit cards and loans if you can. Remember expenses you pay less frequently, like annual tax payments and car registrations. I used to be blessed until this last year. I had one car registration due in January and another one due in June. And we purchased a new car last year because the children are getting bigger. And now those car registrations are May and June. So that means $150 in 2 months, not $75 and $75. So do you have any long-term, short-term, or intermediate goals? Some might say yes, some might say no, and some may say they've never even thought about it. I know at my house, we have several goals. Some of them are short-term, some of them are long-term, but we have tons of financial goals at our house. And we keep them posted and we make sure that we keep them on our minds. And some people may say they don't have any, but maybe you haven't really thought about how small a financial goal can be. That's one thing. A financial goal isn't necessarily, you know, hundreds and hundreds of dollars. It's something as simple as the fact that I need to repair the faucet in my master bathroom. So 93% of us have financial goals. 7% say no. And today, no one said they hadn't even thought about it, which is a little unusual. So for all of us that are say, yes, we have financial goals, we are not alone. And the 7% of you that say no, I want you to think about what financial goals are, okay? You may not even realize you have financial goals because you haven't written them down. But financial goals can be short-term goals and they take less than a year. So an emergency savings account, small household repairs, or maybe a weekend getaway. So small household repairs. This financial goal is not only like I said, I need to repair my bathroom sink. I need a new faucet. It might cost me maybe $30 to $40 depending on what finish I want on the faucet, right? But it's also going to cost me time, and it's also going to cost me a lot of energy because I need to clean out everything underneath the sink in order to get this done. Intermediate goals take 1 to 4 years. This is going to include maybe a down payment on a vehicle, an extended vacation, or major home repairs, like we would like to put a deck in our backyard. Long-term goals take 4 years or longer. Maybe a down payment on a house, maybe buying a new boat, and saving for retirement. So you want to build a better budget in order to achieve your financial goals. And maybe if you don't have any financial goals, you've just paid off all your debt. And if you've done that, you've already set your financial goal. So how do you achieve those financial goals? Write your goals down and make them visible. Be specific and achievable. Physically write them down. Put them on a piece of paper, everyone, and write them down and put them somewhere where you will see them all the time. And that just kind of gives you incentive. So when you run into something where you're like, oh, I really like those new boots. Do I need those new boots? And you look at your little goal list and you go, I don't need those new boots. how much will it cost? And not just the money that you're going to have to set aside, but consider your support system and any necessary sacrifices. So this means, for instance, we have a large financial goal in our house, and it has to do with air conditioning. And so I'm constantly saying, no, we have to set money aside. No, we have to set money aside. No, we have to set money aside. Because since that's not something you're seeing immediately, it's really hard to keep focusing on that large financial goal. You want to communicate. Rank your goals and share them with your family, your friends, anyone who's in your circle, because what that'll do is hopefully your friends will still invite you out to do things, but they'll understand if you say no, because you are saving for something more important. And offer time. You know, if somebody wants to go out and you can't go, or maybe they're planning a trip and they want you to go along and you financially can't go because you're focused on the bigger picture, you know, share that with them and maybe set aside some physical time for them, you know, instead. And so that way you're not getting off track with your financial goals. Establish a timeline. So if your goal is $1,000 for a new car down payment over the next 18 months, you're going to need to set aside roughly $56 a month. $56 a month in my house is eating out 1.5 times. I have a family of 4. Actually, not even 1.5 times. It's barely 1.5 times. It's definitely 1 time. And be flexible and keep your eye on the prize. So what that means is look at these steps to achieving your financial goals, but don't beat yourself down with it, because you don't want to be financially stressed trying to reach your goals. That's just going to be hard on your budget. You might start stress spending, and that's not going to help anything. And remember not to be too hard on yourself, because everyone kind of gets off track. You are going to have unforeseen expenses. You know, last year we had a lot of elderly pet problems that we needed to take care of, and it really cut into the budget, but it needed to be done, you know. And like I said, and I had to buy tires just last week, and you know, I'm possibly going to have to start buying glasses for my little one, and that's just something that I'm going to have to put back into the budget and be flexible about in order to achieve my other financial goals that I have. So budgeting can help you do more than figure out your bills. That's the whole point of today. We're not just looking to budget and figure out where the money is going. We also want to know why the money is going where it's going and how you can keep it on track, right? But it's also a way to help ease the impulse to cash crunch. Like I said, are you whipping out that credit card at the end of the month to make ends meet? It's going to help you save money when you budget. Pay yourself first. So see what you have in the bank and start setting money aside. It'll heal your credit score, because as you're getting things paid off, your debts, your credit score is going to keep going up. Your credit history is going to keep going up. It's going to save you time and decrease your stress if you're budgeting, because you're going to know where things are going. You're going to know that you can make it work out. It can help you take control of your finances, and it can help you set and achieve financial goals. And that's a big part of budgeting and working on your credit and anything when it comes to finances, is having goals so that you are not just bogged down with the stress of paying off debt, with the stress of looking at your debt and following your debt and trying to get it paid off. Financial goals give you the light at the end of the tunnel, correct? You can look forward and say, once I get this paid off, that frees up $200 a month. I could get the car paid off faster. I could put that into the savings account. I could finance a project for the house. I could look for a better apartment. I could, you know, there's just a multitude of things that you could look forward to once your budget is in order. I hope everyone enjoyed today's webinar. I'm Andrea Johnson. I am the Grant and Financial Education Coordinator for the Office of Consumer Credit Commissioner. If you have any questions that are not included in the survey afterwards, you can email me at financial-education@occc.texas.gov. You can also find us on Facebook at Texas Financial Education Endowment and on Twitter at Financial Ed Texas.